What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is American Things Other Countries Find Weird. This is by the infographic show. I don't actually know if I've done this one. I'm potentially may have done it like a year ago. I haven't actually checked. But I don't remember doing this one if I did. But I feel like potentially it is going to bring up stuff we
may have
already touched. I feel like tax is 100% going to come up.
Yeah.
Tipping's 100% going to come up. I'm
Yeah.
pretty confident, and then we'll see the rest of them.
Yeah.
If there's anything new, if there's not, we learn something again, and it just kind of, I guess it will push to us that it is that different and it is that prominent in the US. So if you guys want to see more of this, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. We'd seriously appreciate it. American Things Other Countries Find Weird. What we got?
The word weird has come a long way since its origins in Old English. It was first related to destiny, or the power to control one's fate, and later was tied up with the supernatural. From there, it started meaning odd or uncanny, and odd and uncanny is what we'll talk about today when looking at folks in the good old US of A. Every nation has some kind of collective idiosyncrasy, such as those Brits that certainly talk about the weather a lot, or those Japanese that create cuddle cafes where lonely businessmen can repose in the warm embrace of a stranger by the hour or for the whole night. Male friends in some countries kiss when they say hello, women in other countries hide their faces, and this can seem weird for those who don't understand it. Today, let's look at just one country in particular in this episode of the infographic show, Weird Things Americans Do. A bucket of coffee, please. Okay, so maybe it's not only Americans that do this, but we reckon Americans excel at it. In a story by British author Julian Barnes in the book Lemon Table, one elderly British woman points out how waiters in some restaurants habitually keep filling up her coffee. It's quite nice, in fact, but in Britain, such service would cost you a small fortune. And
over here, it is like, I feel like teas are different. If you get a cup of tea, like let's say you go for a big breakfast, and you've got an option, tea or coffee, you will get a pot of tea, and it'll do you 3 or 4 cups.
Yeah, it'll be included in your breakfast price.
The coffee will be included as well, but it'll just be 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted another cup of coffee, you've got to buy another. If you wanted a latte, you've got to pay extra for a latte. So I feel like we kind of do that with tea, hot tea at least, whereas they're more coffee drinkers.
And we're more tea drinkers.
So I guess it balances out. I wouldn't say waiters go around and top us up though.
No.
Like we don't have someone with a teapot going around.
No, it just goes on the table and you just serve yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess it's just different drinks, I guess.
Americans seem to drink coffee by the gallon. Go to France or Italy, and in many cafes, you'll find your cup of coffee isn't cheap and comes in a tiny cup or glass. Americans are mass consumers of coffee, and we doubt any country can match it. US comedian Bill Hicks made a joke about Americans and their coffee habit before he died. The joke goes, he asked for a coffee in one restaurant, and the waiter said, "You want the 32 ounce or the large?" "How big is the large?" asked Hicks, and the waiter replied, "You'll want to pull your car around back, I'll start the pump." The beast of the feast. So, you probably already know this, and you don't need to have visited the USA to have heard about it, but visitors often remark on how damn big portions are there. We've talked about this before, but not the real beast eaters. You see, in the States, all over the place, you've got those eat this ridiculously large, heart-stopping, gut-busting meal in 30 minutes and you get it for free. Godzilla would struggle to walk out of that deal without begrudgingly pulling out his wallet, yet there are names on the plaque on the wall. But why would anyone literally make themselves sick and pay for it? Only an American could explain. The question was asked on Quora about this, and most people said food is cheap and big portions sell to the majority of people in everyday restaurants. But we like this answer, which kind of flips it. Your question might well be turned around to ask, why are portions in the rest of the world so small? The United States has a good food supply, and people expect value for their money.
When you flip it around, it is exactly that point. And I guess it's only big to us because we're used to small portions. Again, I don't really, to be honest, I don't eat much.
No.
Anyway, you don't really eat much either, to be honest with you. So when we go, you look at this, you're like, oh my god, there's so much food. Just because you're not used to it.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't finish a meal when we went to America.
I don't think we did, to be honest with you.
No.
Unless we went to McDonald's, which we did a couple times.
But like the drink, everything, like the drinks.
The drinks
even
were
your
massive.
drinks are massive.
Even like.
I mean, it was great if we were walking around and we could put the bottles.
No complaints from me, by the way. It's definitely not a complaint.
And I found it was similar price to ours in the UK, just bigger. But yeah, that was just an observation, I think.
No, definitely.
We definitely noticed.
I feel like some people will say, well, you didn't eat every food, it's a waste of food, it could be going somewhere better. But if we put that aside, I kind of just like the aspect of you get given food, and then I can just eat till I'm full.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit of wastage, which obviously you don't want.
You can't help sometimes if you get the normal size meal.
Yeah.
If you're not hungry to finish it, you're not going to finish it.
It is what it is. And again, we're not used to it, so we wouldn't know. But I guess if you're used to it, that's when you finish it.
Yeah, I do wonder if Americans came over to here if they'd be hungry.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. If you've been to anywhere in the UK or in Europe, and what have you reckoned to the portion sizes? Have you noticed it being significantly less? And have you been hungry after a meal and think, you know what, I could do with another main? You know what I mean? You don't have to be of a larger descent or anything like that.
It could just be like what you're used to eating.
Yeah, just let us know your opinion on if it got small or not. It'd be interesting that.
Knights everywhere. You won't find this happening all over the place in the States, but you will likely be called sir, or for a woman, ma'am, at some point in your trip. It's very polite, and visitors will have nothing against it, but being called sir will feel strange for most. Perhaps if you're in the armed forces, it might work. Even calling cops sir seems weird to outsiders. For most people, you have to be knighted to be called sir, although admittedly, some school kids in the UK might call their teacher sir.
Yeah, I call my teachers that.
That's it, teachers, sir. But I don't think I've ever called anyone else sir.
No, just teachers.
And that's it, yeah.
Americans, it's a sign of respect. For anyone else, it's over the top. You'll find it's more common in the south of the US. Smokes and drugs. This is weird to just about anyone outside of the USA, the fact that at some pharmacies or drugstores, you can buy cigarettes. While many pharmacies in the US stopped doing this, you can still find it. It does seem rather odd that the place selling you things to improve your health would be selling you those cancerous sticks of tobacco. In 2014, CVS pharmacies in the US stopped doing this, stating, "We came to the decision that cigarettes and providing healthcare just don't go together in the same setting." Took a while to figure that out.
I assume we don't do that?
We don't do that, no.
Do we not? Again, we don't smoke, so I've never looked, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure I've never seen any cigarettes in pharmacies, and the only cigarettes that are sold in the shop are behind the counter.
Yes, behind the counter you do see them every so often, but in the pharmacy I've never looked for them.
No.
Beer everywhere. While you must be 21 to buy beer in the United States, you can get it in some surprising places. One such place is the aforementioned pharmacy, but you can add to that. You can find beer sold in vending machines, at some clothing stores, some coffee shops, at some drive-thrus, and even some special hospitals will have beer for sale.
So how do you prove that you're 18 at a vending machine?
Let us know. That's a very good point.
21.
Maybe the vending machine's in a shop and potentially someone's watching over.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like someone's at the counter and they see you go to it.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. It's a good point. Very good point.
Are rare. Accident lawyers. If you've watched the show Breaking Bad, you'll know there's a lawyer who will make sure you get paid for an accident you had or even didn't quite have. In the US, you can see signs for these sometimes sleazy guys on TV or even see their shiny white teeth on giant advertising boards. This used to be weird in the UK, but over the last few years, the Brits are also getting in on accident claims, and their TVs are also full of nice people saying, "Did you have an accident? Did you know you can get compensated for that?
Yeah.
Call this number."
Yeah.
Drug dealers on TV. The last thing you need when all you really need is some exercise and clean living is someone on TV telling you can buy a possibly addictive, happy drug that can solve all your problems. These commercials might have calming music, birds flying over rainbows, people skipping and dancing through the park, and then someone saying a wonder drug made that happen. The original Zoloft ad told you just shouldn't have to feel this way. Maybe not, but to many Europeans, pushing it on TV seems a bit too much. Drinking games. Now for something a bit more fun, but still related to drugs, if you visit America, and certainly if you're young, you might get caught up in any number of drinking games they have over there.
The other red cups.
We do this. We play beer pong.
Oh, I love a game of beer pong, but I feel like
I'm rubbish at it.
Yeah, you are. Coordination's completely off before you have a drink.
I just get and then even just after one, that just puts me out of it.
I think you just forget how to throw after one.
And I just seem to get put on bad teams.
That's because no one wants you on their
No one wants me on their team because I just get drunk.
Pretty much. That is pretty accurate, to be fair.
Beer pong? That's gotta be American. Or what about truth or dare? Works better when alcohol has oiled the inhibitions. Or quarters? No cursing, no first names, no right hand accepting, no chance of staying sober. There's even Drinkapalooza, an actual board game for drinking. In most other countries, drinking isn't always that much fun. What happens in America stays in America. Okay, so many of those videos out there on YouTube showing the glaring ignorance of some Americans about the rest of the world were made by Americans, so we don't feel like we are picking on Americans too much here. But it's not only just world history that some folks from the USA might not have read up on. We heard a story about a guy that asked an American friend when traveling in Europe what accent she thought she had. She replied, "I don't have one." She thought she spoke pure English. Another tale we heard was of a young man from West Virginia who met some Brits while traveling in Israel. He asked the Brits how the highways were in England. The Brits, jokingly, replied they didn't have cars and still used the horse and cart. The guy replied, "Wow." When the question was asked on Quora why some, and we say some, Americans don't know much about the world, the answers were mostly related to the education system focusing only on the US and the country already being so big and diverse.
That's fair, because I feel like at school, our history lessons were about World War II and World War One, but from Britain's point of view.
Yeah, it was all British.
I didn't learn anything about America at school. Maybe in geography I learned about the
I feel like it's the same worldwide. Your country
state
focuses on your country's history.
Our country focuses on our country's history.
What you're expected to see every day, because you can't. I don't think you don't teach someone to potentially move somewhere. You teach them where they live, if that makes sense.
I never learned anything about America at school.
Until I did these reaction videos, I literally knew nothing. And I felt quite embarrassed when I first did them. I was like, am I an idiot for not knowing all this?
Well, actually, my history teacher was American.
So you knew
She's
a little
from
bit.
Florida, so every time we talk about the British War, she'd add in bits
Just
from
throw
what
it in
she
a
knew
little bit.
from the American War, and but apart from that,
Just absolutely not. So it's not just you guys. He's picking on him a little bit here. It's not just you guys, don't worry.
American writer and intellectual Noam Chomsky wrote that the reason why Americans know so much about sports but so little about world affairs is because that's just the way the system was set up for most people. Is it weird? You'll find it everywhere, but those videos we see do seem to make some Americans seem quite ignorant of the world outside America. Let's just say if you can't get close to pointing where North Korea is on a map but hate the country, there's a problem. Peeping Tom. Okay, let's stop being so harsh now. We'll turn to something amusing and ask why in the USA, some toilet stalls have such big gaps between the doors and the outer piece of the stall, so people can virtually watch you do your private business. Many Americans have asked this online.
Weird.
Foreigners ask this a lot too. One guy on Twitter writes, when you're sitting on the toilet and you make eye contact with someone through the little crack in the door. A woman asks, what's the point of a toilet stall door when there is a 2-inch gap on each side? Most answers we can find were related to safety, to know someone is in there, to get you out quickly, and making it easier to clean.
Surely you'd
There's
know
a huge
someone's in
debate
there
on
by just seeing it locked.
I guess so.
I mean, I know people sometimes lock it from the outside, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think you need to have a hole for you to see someone on the toilet.
That is quite strange.
That's a bit like invasion of your privacy.
I don't think it is intended so someone looks through and watches you on the toilet.
But they must know if they do that, someone's going to do that.
Yeah, it is pretty strange, that one, to be fair.
Advisor about the topic, but no one seems to know the answer. How are you? This could be said to be similar in other countries, but when Americans ask how are you, they are not usually looking for an answer. It's just a way of saying hello. An extensive reply about your ingrown toenail, your setback with Bitcoin, and the fact your father didn't give you enough attention as a kid is probably not what your interlocutor was wanting or expecting. You can just answer with hey. The real home of football. Okay, as we've just had the World Cup of a game called football, we might as well go ahead and say that the rest of the world thinks America is weird for calling its strange stop and start game football. But we should tell you that it was the Brits that first called the game soccer, which is a diminutive of the words association football. The word sock comes from association, and The Guardian tells us Brits back then loved to put an ER at the end of words. Later, the Americans naturally called it soccer just as the Brits did. Then the Brits decided the word soccer sounded too American and let it go. Now, the Brits and Europeans had been playing this football thing since medieval times, and it was called football back then too. But there were many types of football, including rugby. That's why the word soccer became a thing. Americans just took the word football for their own game, just as Europeans had done. But to be honest, American football is much closer to rugby, so it's still a bit weird. But let's just finish with saying, if any Brit or European gives you a hard time about calling the game soccer, just tell them what we told you. They started it. You have no defense, though, for calling a game played mostly with the hands football. So, can you add to this list? Have you visited America and found some things weird? Are you American and disagree with what we said?
Let us know in the comments. Again, on that soccer thing, I mean, I say soccer in my videos now. It don't bother me one bit.
I'm just not bothered.
You can call it whatever you want.
We know what you're talking about. Football, soccer, we know.
Exactly. As long as you can both figure out what sport you're talking about, as long as someone clarifies it. Call it whatever you want. You know what I mean? It honestly does not affect me. And hopefully it doesn't affect you guys as well. Enjoy that one?
Yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that as well. It didn't go down with typical tipping or anything like that. It was actually quite a unique one that we hadn't heard before. So that was pretty cool. I definitely enjoyed it. Smash that like button if you guys enjoyed it as well. Let us know what else you want us to react to in the comments below, and have a fantastic day, guys. Peace.